Hey everybody, so today we're going to look at slope. So what is slope? Well, it's the ratio that describes the steepness of a line. So we're going to be looking at linear functions this chapter, and we need to understand that the slope is how steep a line is. So we can use a formula to figure out what the slope of a line is. Slope is rise over run. The vertical change, which is up and down, over the run, the horizontal change. So rise over run. I think you have to rise, you have to get up before you can run. So rise over run. Very important that you write this down because we're going to be using rise over run for the rest of the chapter. The vertical change over the horizontal change. We're going to look at how we can use this formula to find the slopes of various lines. So we need to know that when a line goes up from left to right, it's a positive slope. And when it goes down from left to right, it's a negative slope. So if you have a line that's going up, it's positive, which means you should have a positive slope. If it's going down, that means negative, and we should have a negative slope. So using the graph paper that I gave you, or you can just follow along with me on the screen, I plotted 2 points here. We have a -3, 2, and 2, 4. So one way that you can find the slope is to actually count it. Remember, it's rise over run. We have to stand up, get up, before we can run. So I want to know what my vertical change over my horizontal change. How many do I go up, and then how many do I run over? So from this point, I'm going to count 1, 2. Since I went up, it's positive, so +2. Then from where I am here, I want to know how many I go horizontally. What's my run? So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because I went to the right, it's a +5. I also know I should have a positive slope because it's going upward. So again, I went up, my rise, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my slope is 2 over 5. I always want to make sure it's simplified, and 2 over 5 is simplified. So let's look at another one. I have -2, 2, and 2, 0. I should notice right away that this line is going downwards, so I should have a negative answer. Again, my formula, rise over run. I have to stand up before I can run. So I'm going to go up 1, 2. Since I went up, it's a +2. And then I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4. I went to the left, so since I went to the left, it's a -4. I want to simplify this, so I would have 1 over a -2. And that's my simplified slope. So why am I choosing this point and not this point? Well, I want to rise, get up. If I just choose this point, I don't have a point to get up and find. So this one is why I choose to go up and then over. So let's look at this one. I have -2, -2, and 3, 1. So I want to rise and then run, rise over run. So I'm going to move up 1, 2, 3, so that I'm in line with this point. So 1, 2, 3. I went up, so it's a +3. And now from where I am, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. It's simplified, so my slope is 3 to 5. Go ahead and try this one on your own. I'm at negative 2, 4, and 1, 1. If it's hard to see the line, you can graph this on your paper so that it might be easier for you to count. Remember, rise over run. So from here, I rose, so I went 1, 2, 3, up. So 1, 2, 3, and then I went 1, 2, 3 to the left, so it's a negative 3. I can simplify this to be negative 1 over 1. So you might have wondered, why did I put the negative on top and not the bottom? Well, anywhere I put the negative, if I put it in the middle, if I put it on the top, or I put it on the bottom, it's the same. They are all equivalent. So make sure you write this down. I can put my negative on the top, bottom, or middle. It's important, though, when you're counting the slope, that if you go up or to the right, it's a positive. Down and to the left is a negative. If I have two negatives, so negative 1 over negative 2, then that's going to give me a positive 1 over 2. So there's another way that you can find the slope of a line without counting. So I still want you to see the line on a graph. So with your graph paper, you can graph these points, move this over. So, negative 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 3, negative 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. To graph my line. Well, instead of counting, which we just did, which I could count how many up, how many we rise, and then how many we run, we can use a formula to find the slope. So for the formula, you want to use the change in x, the change in y, over your change in x. And we'll still set it up as a ratio. So what I need to ask myself is, what are my y coordinates? So I have 3 and negative 1. So I'm going to find the change, which means I'm going to subtract. So 3 minus a negative 1. Notice I put minus and my negative sign. And then I'm going to look at my change in x. So my x values are negative 3 and 3. So I'm going to put negative 3 minus 3. Since I started with this ordered pair, I have to start with this ordered pair each time. So 3 minus negative 1, negative 3 minus 3. And now I'm going to use my calculator. 3 minus 1 is 4. And a negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. Now I'm going to simplify. So I get 2 over negative 3. This line is going down, so it makes sense to have a negative slope. So let's look at the next one. I can plot 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 1. So I want to find my change in y over my change in x. So 3 minus 1 and 2 minus 1. So again, change in y, which is 3 minus 1. And we'll have 2 minus 1. Okay, so now let's see. We had 3 minus 1, so change in y, and then our change in x, 2 minus 1. So 3 minus 1 is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1. So the slope is 2 over 1. So let's look at one more. Negative 3, negative 1, 3, 2. So I'm going to find my change in y, negative 1 minus 2, and then my change in x, negative 3 minus 3. So negative 1 minus 2, negative 3 minus 3. So negative 1 minus 1, negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. Negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. We learned 2 negatives give us a positive, and that simplifies to 1 over 2. When I look at my line, it's a positive line. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Again, 3 minus 1, 0 minus 6. And make sure you're using your calculator to help check your computation. So you should have gotten 2 over negative 6 to get 1 over negative 3. Try one more. 2, 2, and 6, negative 1. So you should have gotten 2 minus negative 1 and 2 minus 6 to get 3 over negative 4. So sometimes we have horizontal and vertical lines. So here we have a horizontal line. So when I'm going to find the slope, I'm going to take 2 minus 2 over negative 2 minus 3. So 2 minus 2 is 0, and a negative 2 minus 3 is a negative 5. So anytime my 0 is on top, the slope is 0. All horizontal lines have a slope of 0. So then, when I look at my vertical line, I would take 1 minus negative 2 and negative 5 minus negative 5. So I'm going to get 3 over 0. Anytime I have a slope on the bottom, a 0 on the bottom, it's undefined. All vertical lines have a slope that is undefined. You cannot have a 0 on the bottom. So when I graph this one, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, I have a vertical line. So I'm going to know when I see a vertical line, like this one, my slope is undefined. So vertical and horizontal lines you need to remember. Vertical undefined, horizontal 0. So here's your quiz question 1. Quiz question 2, you can either graph it and count, or use the change in y over the change in x. Quiz question 3, you can graph it and count, or use the change in y over the change in x. And quiz question 4, again, horizontal and vertical lines. Go back and remember, if it's vertical, what type of slope? If it's horizontal, what type of slope? Make sure you bring all of your notes tomorrow to class and any questions you may have. We are going to look more into slope in our activities in class tomorrow. Have a great night.